I'm also central office manager, and I'm lame duck outgoing president.
Don't sound so happy.
But anyway, before I get started with announcements, well, I'll do the announcements first. The table over here behind, or to your right, under the crucifix, is everything on that table is free. So later on, as space becomes available, I got a little bit more free stuff to put out. Not much, but anyway. There's books over here on this table that are for sale, and in the back corner are 2 boxes with note cards, and they're for sale also. Over on this table, there's a little Christmas tree cookie can, if you want to make a donation for something. The restrooms, you go down to the atrium, they're kind of on a diagonal. You go through the maze of tables with silver tablecloths. That's for the vendors that I guess will be coming in Sunday, I guess. Anyway, later in a few minutes we'll be there's some goodies in your brown bag. You'll each get a folder with schedule and other things, a tablet. There should be a pen in your bag. Hopefully it writes. If not, just scribble. It'll work, but eventually. And we paid good money for them. I didn't rip them off from the government, so anyway, they should work. But we'll start off with a prayer, and then I'll make a few other announcements. In your book, you don't have to follow along, but the word among us, you might have that in your area. It comes from Frederick, Maryland, which is, we call it going up to towards western Maryland. But anyway, it usually comes out monthly, except for July and August, they combine it. But it has the mass readings and stuff for every day, and then they have a meditation section. So that's where today's opening prayer is from. St. Paul spends much of the 8th chapter of his letter to the Romans teaching about the Holy Spirit. Yet for all of Paul's words, the Holy Spirit can often be an afterthought in our daily lives. What does the Spirit do? Paul says the Spirit is our source of life. He says the Spirit lives in us and shows us how to live for God. He says that the Spirit reminds us that we are God's children. Best of all, he says that the Holy Spirit comes to the aid of our weakness. We all have weaknesses, don't we? One weakness we face is the way we respond to suffering or hardship. Temptation, sickness, addiction, division in families, financial problems, natural disasters. Any of these challenges can leave us fearful and overwhelmed if we try to face them on our own. But with the help of the Spirit, we can start to see things from God's perspective and find the strength we need to keep moving forward. Another weakness can be our struggle with prayer. The Spirit loves to help us pray. He helps us speak to God from our hearts, and not just through road prayers. He gives us a desire to pray for our loved ones, and he gives us the reassurance that our prayers have been heard. It's easy to think that it's just us, that we are doing it all by ourselves. But this is just not true. Every holy thought that we have and every loving action that we take have their origin in the Holy Spirit. Every day, in good times and bad, the Spirit is with us. teaching us to ask God for what we need and filling us with grace. So when you find the strength to push onward in a trying time, a renewed desire to love people, or a new thought or a new insight in how to solve a problem, rejoice. It's the Holy Spirit coming to your aid. So hopefully that little booklet will help you for the next couple of months. I think there's a subscription form in it also. Let's see. I'll introduce the board of officers for right now. Let's see. Over at the table is Regina Stello. She's our treasurer. Steve Tartaglia is from New York. He's Region 2 representative. In the back we have Juliana. I forget how to. And she's from Region 3, New Jersey and Pennsylvania. Also in the back is Julie Ozine. She's from California, Region 14. And she's Southern California and Southern Nevada. Also in the back is Angela Falco. And I said your last name wrong. Falgu. And she is from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, and has Mississippi and Alabama, and a couple of other states. But New Orleans is the best. And then we have Greg Mills. He's our incoming president. And that's it. In the back we have Dr. Sharon O'Brien. She is, she's not on our board, but she's a great supporter. She's, I guess, on staff here at Catholic University. She has started a nonprofit, I don't know, 8 or 10 years ago on domestic violence. There's a little bit of literature from her out on the table. I've got more to put out, but I ran out of space and time. And anyway, if you please network with her, and she's here. We're here to help her, and she's here to help us. So please reach out. They're not ready. She's not going to speak yet, but this is Sara Blauvelt. She's with the Archdiocese of Washington, and I forget her exact title, but she's catechesis and for adults and children, right?
Adults, children, and youth.
And another speaker. What was that? Oh.
And RCIA.
And yes,
Just following her.
Formation, I do formation.
She does formation.
And then we have, I always call her Alice from my church, but her real name is Alice Colbreth. She'll be our second speaker this morning. And she's, Ashes to Recovery is her talk, turning the bad things that happen in your life into positive or something to that effect. And that's about it. Steve is going to be recording this so that we can use it for better things. If you need Wi-Fi, we do have it, and Greg and Steve can show you how to do it or give you the code. But anyway, I'm a little off track, but got a couple of books, not for y'all, but on there's plenty of stuff out there. Our theme for the conference is building bridges. We all need tools. We need to have a tackle box, a toolbox, a backpack list. What's in your catechist backpack? There's You can also subscribe to a magazine, monthly magazine, for catechists. It's got more stuff in there. You don't necessarily have to be a catechist to enjoy this magazine. And Sarah will tell you maybe a little bit about it, to take the classes to become certified. In some schools of thought, anybody in church ministry should be a certified catechist. I'm taking the classes, I got one more to go. And I'm not particularly interested in teaching so much in the classroom. I try to be active in my church, and I just want to learn. And I was taking a morality class, and the guy was telling something, and I was writing it down. And I went to Catholic school for 12 years, and I said, "When did the church come up with that?" And he said, "We've always had it, but we just started talking about it." So, anyway, I digress. Also, yeah, I will. Also, there in probably every diocese or has National Catholic Women's National Council of Catholic Women, and that you can become a member of. You can check it out probably on your diocese or archdiocese website. They can connect. That's a very good support organization of sorts, networking, very beneficial. And if you talk to Sharon, she can tell, she's a provincial director or something for that. She can help you with that also. Okay, in your folder, you should all have a pocket folder. There's a schedule for today and tomorrow. And there's some other, there's a tablet in your bag. There should be an ink pen and some other literature, a campus map, a little pamphlet on, or trifold on the Franciscan monastery, the basilica next door to the shrine. That's the largest Catholic church in the United States and the 8th largest in the world. And let's see, Franciscan monastery, the basilica, and the John Paul II shrine, which is not, it's a little walk in the heat, but in good weather it's not bad. It's not a bad walk. But anyway, if you have any questions or need any more information, please check with myself or Greg or Steve or anybody that I introduced you to. But anyway, we're glad that you're here. We know some of you, or some of you are local, but most of you are from far away, and that's good that you journeyed here. Let's see. Sometimes when we travel, it'd be easy if we were all like a turtle. The turtle has everything he needs. He's got a hard shell to keep him, he sleeps in there, he just pulls in his head, he's got his lodging, he goes at a slow, steady pace, doesn't get riled up about traffic much, just has no time limits, just goes about his merry way. It'd be nice if we could all be like that, including myself. But anyway, and there's probably other things that I'm forgetting. I'm real interested in travel and tourism, and I get a lot of information at home, and I try to learn as much as I can. But several years ago, I got this package. And I opened it, and I thought, why am I getting this? And it was a toolbox from the Joplin, Missouri CVB, and it was maybe a year after the tornado went through Joplin and wiped out the town, and it was about rebuilding. And then I don't know, less than a year later, I was at a travel conference, and the CVB director came up to me and he says he forgot to put the pencil in there. Draw from our strengths. But each tool has a little tag or whatever. Successful strategic planning is available at every turn in Joplin. And then there's a whole bunch of stuff down here. So I guess what I'm saying is you need to have, it's a good idea to maybe have an internal toolbox of things that you need for your own personal life. But then draw, and you can draw on these and have a toolbox for your strengths and weaknesses and even upper level, lower level. It's probably something I forgot, but
You gonna introduce Sarah? Would you introduce Sarah?
Yeah.
Okay.
So we'll run in a few minutes late, but we'll catch up later, or as the day goes on. Here's the backpack. Our Alice's office at my church. They were moving to another office, and she was getting rid of stuff right and left. So I was there helping pack it. So I kind of stole from the trash a backpack. Exercise your faith, walk with the Lord. But anyway, you can put a lot of stuff in here. Anyway, okay. Next, I'd like to introduce Sara Blauvelt from the Archdiocese of Washington. She'll give you a little bit of her bio and good luck.
What time do you want me to land this talk? What time are we shooting for a wrap up?
You gonna fill an hour? Go ahead, we are flexible.
Okay,
How's that?
okay.
So
All
what
right.
do you have to say?
I'll get out of your way.
Thank you. My name is Sara Blauvelt. I'm the Director for Catechesis for the Archdiocese of Washington. So I didn't have a long commute this morning, and it was glorious because it's a Saturday morning in DC, which is way easier than a Friday. I am delighted to be here. As Director for Catechesis, my job is to oversee all formation of children, religious formation of children, youth, and adults. I also oversee the RCI process for our archdiocese. And then I collaborate with our Catholic schools, so any teaching of the faith in Catholic schools falls to my purview. 5 years ago when I got this job, I called my parents and I said, hey, I'm going to be the Director for Catechesis for the Archdiocese of Washington. We're so proud of you, honey. What is that? So hopefully today, by the time I finish talking, you'll know what catechesis is, and you two will be as proud as my parents are. I have been, I never planned to be a catechist. I have an undergraduate degree from Purdue University in financial advising. 25 years ago, I was sitting in the parish choir, and the pastor stepped up to say, we desperately need a first grade catechist. And I smiled and thought, no way ever. And the next week, the pastor said, we really, really desperately need a first grade catechist. And the woman who was sitting beside me patted me on the knee and said, you would be a great catechist. I teach first grade, I'll help you. And if you learn nothing else from me today, when you are trying to accompany people, whatever the journey, whether it's a catechist or anything else, if you mentor with them and accompany them, it is easier. And it's easier to be joyful, because I titled this, The Joy of Catechesis. Anybody here been a catechist in any form? It's not always super joyful. Okay? There is that joy of Christ that is always there, but in the classroom it's not necessarily always happy and fun. My favorite 2 grades to teach are 1st and 7th grade. They're startlingly alike. Except one group can tie their shoes and the other can't. But I love them because at both ages they have so many questions of faith and they're not afraid to ask. Right? Particularly 7th graders, I believe that 7th graders represent where the majority of our adults are in their faith life. Yes, really, I'm sorry. I do believe that most of our adults have a kind of a working 7th grade knowledge of the faith. which kind of makes sense because a lot of dioceses confirm in 8th grade, and so that's formal education for a lot of our student staffs then. But the beauty of 7th graders is they have zero filter. Like, they think it and it just comes out of their mouth. So it's a really good gauge for me to spend time in a 7th grade classroom to know where people are and what questions they're asking. Because if we cannot answer questions, we are not relevant. And the church becomes irrelevant. And matters of faith in God. If we say church doesn't have an answer for that, church almost always has an answer. A lot of people can do it. So anyway, I want to talk today about being a catechist, but I want to step back, and I actually have a handout for you. Sorry, I forgot to give it to you. That will kind of guide our conversation. My thought was that I would kind of talk up front, but then leave you plenty of time for questions, because I found that whenever I talk, people have more questions than I have answers for. So I love your theme, this idea of bridging, and it so echoes what Pope Francis is calling our church to these days. His words are accompanying, right? But it makes me think back to my beautiful friend, my mentor, who walked with me when I first decided to take on this journey of being a catechist. Before I say anything else, though, as we're bridging these whatever the rift is, the bridge, we have to say, for divorced and separated Catholics, my little quote here, did you know Catholics who are separated or divorced but not remarried, and Catholics who are divorced and whose previous marriage has been annulled by a decree of invalidity are members in good standing of the Catholic Church and can therefore participate fully in the life of the faith community? So our task then, as ministers who are trying to build bridges, we need to be able to say with confidence, if this is where your life is now, not only do we hope that you will fully participate in the life of the church, that full participation means I'm going to minister in some form. I'm not only going to be an active person celebrating with you on a weekly basis and celebrating the sacraments with you, but I'm going to say, I have something to give back. Okay? So, we're looking at that, and then all the church documents say, every person, by virtue of their baptism, is called to go and make disciples. All right? There's a scary thing for most people. Right? You know, most people don't want to be called a catechist. Fewer people want to be called an evangelist. And right, it's a word that makes us uncomfortable, right? Because it's so charged with negativity. But when you think about it, an evangelist is someone who says, I have encountered God's love, and I can't wait to share that with you. Why are we embarrassed by that? But we too often lead with, I've experienced God's love, why haven't you? Right? But we got to think about our messaging, and that's where Pope Francis is challenging us in so many beautiful ways. But I say that if, and it is true, every baptized Christian, by virtue of their baptism, is called to make disciples, you also have been given the gifts to be a disciple. So you've been given those gifts. It's how we nurture them and help them to grow. And discipleship is this umbrella of evangelization. And then Pope, now St. John Paul II, said, catechesis is a privileged moment in the process of evangelization. It's a privileged moment. So evangelization is saying, hey, I've met Jesus, and he is wonderful, and he will change your life if you will let him. And then catechesis is, how do you live that relationship, that deep, abiding relationship with Christ in the church? And it's this moral formation that Suzanne was talking about, and the creed and the sacraments. So every person is called to make disciples. Not every person is called to be a catechist. Okay? A formal catechist. Everybody catechizes in some form, whether they like it or not. Those people who are appointed catechists by their pastors or their bishop are tasked with accompanying parents and families who are the primary catechists. Okay? So my job in my parish ministry program wasn't to teach kids everything they need to know about the faith in the hour and 15 minutes we have and help them be great disciples. That was my job, is to help the parents in that, right? So yes, I was very much striving to do the best with that hour and 15 minutes I had, or in a Catholic school where they have the hour a day set aside for religion. But all of this is designed to help the parents in their role. So when we're looking at this catechesis today and the building bridges, it may be, I don't know what your ministry is, or if you're coming to this as a divorced and separated person who's thinking about being a catechist, or just someone who wants to learn more. We have to look at it from both sides. How is it that we're considering a call to catechesis, to be a catechist in a formal way? How is it as a parent that I'm a catechist? Or how is it that I'm a friend or relative who can help somebody else as they try to help their children grow in the faith? Because just like I was mentored to be a first grade catechist, if we surround ourselves with other loving families, and it's easier. It is easier to minister when you have a support system. So it's fabulous that this gathering is happening this weekend at Catholic University, because this is a first step to say, we're going to build this community nationwide, and then you have your provinces where it helps you think about doing it locally, and then we can just continue to let those seeds spread. Okay, so let's look at some, I have one more thing. This is how my brain works, I'm sorry. So it means that I have to flip my piece of paper back and forth. But the title that I gave was The Joy of Catechesis, Proclaiming Christ in Word and Life. And this is drawn from a quote by Pope Paul VI, who said, "Modern man listens more willingly to witnesses than to teachers. And if he does listen to teachers, it's because they are witnesses." Okay.
Say that again, please.
Modern man listens more willingly to witnesses than to teachers. And if he does listen to teachers, it's because they are witnesses. Okay. Which is a great time for us to unpack the word catechesis. Anybody know what it means other than Alice Colbert? Anybody know that word? This is exactly my dad's question. What is it that you're doing?
Is that echo?
Echo. Exactly.
Yeah, not to teach.
So it is not just, there is a teaching component to that. We have to say the right word so that the echo is true, right? Because if I say the wrong word and if I'm echoing down the faith, then I set off a chain reaction of short of truth or confused truth. So if we're going to echo down, we've got to start with the absolute truth to make sure that as it keeps passing on, it is the absolute truth. But it's this echoing on, which is not just classroom formation, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit at the end. But that's why I have to be a super authentic witness as well as saying the right things. Because I can say everything, I got a master's from this Catholic University, actually. So I know what I'm supposed to say, and sometimes that can be compelling, but I'm a whole lot more compelling to kids when I was teaching 7th graders when they saw me in church praying, right? When I was willing to stay before class or after class to listen to their story. When they trusted me enough to tell me a story, I needed to listen, right? And the rule was, I only get an hour and 15 minutes, so if you want to tell me something interesting that doesn't have to do with God, I'll stay after class. And sometimes they would take me up on that, But that made me a witness that said, I'm not only interested in your faith life, I'm interested in you. And that makes us real witnesses. Because we want to give this relationship that we have, right? So the church documents say a catechist, when we're talking about a specifically formal, I'm asking you to be a 7th grade catechist. This is the person specifically appointed by the church in accordance with local needs to make Christ known, loved, and followed. Because what I don't need is a lot of people who know what the church teaches but don't love Christ and don't follow those teachings, right? And there's always the kid that I had in class who was so smart. Usually his name is Peter for some reason. I can see like 4 of them in my mind. They were smart and they could tell me everything about the faith, but they didn't care about Christ at all as a relationship. So when we're trying to help catechize people, we're helping them in this relationship with Christ. So he's known, not only he's known, he's loved and he's followed. So in this, the document's going to say, but being a catechist is so much more. It's not a task or a job, bless you. It's a generous response. Being a catechist is a generous response to share the gift of faith you've received. It's someone who says,